Hey guys, my name is Clay Westing, and this here is a prototype I've been working on. It's basically like a top-down kind of action game where you use swords, magic, and stuff to take out waves of enemies in this kind of like fantasy castle environment. So yeah, basically this is based off of a Udemy tutorial, and I wanted to do this in order to get better at blueprints, like all sorts of different types of things from like AI to character to animation blueprints. Also, some just basic engine stuffs and some art skills. So like making environments and VFX and just all the tools and stuff you can learn in Unreal. I just want to have a better overall understanding of it. So yeah, I decided to make this to kind of keep myself up to date with game development. So yeah, so first I'll show you a little flyover here. So coming in, here's the environment. So I first started with this bowl here, using geometry tools to sculpt the environment, and then also a foliage tool to paint in these assets here. So we have grass and we have flowers and these little bushes, and basically there's different densities in different places. So like it's less dense up there, but as you come in, you see how it's a lot more dense in this area. So kind of just wanted to randomize that and make it look real with kind of these modular assets. These assets are from the Infinity Blade team, so bless their hearts for allowing us to use these. And yeah, and then here's the little environment right here. This is where the player basically will fight the enemies. So these are all also modular pieces that I put together. I'll go back to the regular geometry mode. So yeah, these are a couple assets, and I basically repeated these over and over again in here, and then these are like some tiles. But I wanted to randomize it and just make it look real with this kind of rubbish here. I don't know if rubbish is a word, but I'm going to use it to make it look like this kind of decayed place. So yeah, also did some lighting in here. There isn't naturally light here, obviously. So here's the light without the light source. There's no sun. And then here's the light. And then I also put a post process in here, so I'll show you what that looks like. So here's without the post process. It's kind of a little blue and dull. And this kind of brings some more color and life to it, and also enhances some of the shadows. And then yeah, so here's without post process and also no lighting. So yeah, I think it makes a pretty big difference having that in. So yeah, there we go. Without further ado, I'll show you a little bit of the gameplay, and then I'll show you some of the blueprint work. So yeah, let's play this thing. So yeah, here's the player character here. It's a little knight. And here are the enemies coming in right here. So yeah, they're actually, I'll go into this more later, but they're the same. There's the same logic here for the player character as the enemies. That's what and basically the hair color is kind of what distinguishes them. And there's two types of enemies. There's one that has a sword, and there's another one that has the magic attack, while the player has both of those. So yeah, you can play a little more of that again. But as you see, there's also waves. So I'll go into how that works too. And that's a little health pickup, that nice little blue guy. Whew. Nice. It's pretty fun. Yep, wave complete, and I just have different enemy types. So like in the second one, I have the little mages with the magic. Yep, and I'm obviously not very good at this game, but you know what? You kind of get a taste of it, so I think that's enough of that. Yeah, so I'll show you some of the logic here. First, I'll show you the character base. So yeah, this is the player character here. There's a special camera above with a spring arm, basically, so that I can follow along for that top-down perspective. And then I'll go more into the animation later. Here's the event graph here. So I have logic for creating the sword when the game starts, and attaching it to the mesh of the character, and attaching it to the socket there. Also, this is the logic for the animations. So when they try to melee, these are the different montages that they'll play, and I'll go more into the state machine for that later, and the animation notives. And yeah, this references other blueprints as well, but this is for the magic projectile and also here's the sword, the primary attack down here, which I'll go more into that later. And then, yeah, this is the player damage and death. So basically I have these different variables here, the float variables, that will determine basically how the player takes damage and also what to do when they take damage. So they'll flinch a little bit. And then I have this branch here basically in order to disable movement when the player has run out of health and dies. So that's where the end game plays, and I have a little sound effect that'll play there as well. So yeah, that's kind of some of the logic there. And then I also, so I have an inheritance system for these. So if you look the construction script, you'll see that it's parenting the construction script of the character base. And then the event graph, the only difference between the event graph, the only additional thing that wasn't inherited is that this is the main enemy, the sword enemy, and it'll try to melee. And the mage one, which also has a different hair color, this one will try to do magic. So that's its additional functionality. That's a little different than the original character base. But yeah, from there I'll show you the state machine. So this is the locomotion system for the Night Girl here. Basically this is the logic that's determining how it transitions between movement to jumping to landing. It's just its basic locomotion. So from there, then we also have the anim notifs here. So this is for like the player attacking and the swing. So these are various animations that were put here. So that I put there. Yep. So like basically this is where I determine the logic for these various different animations that came with the Udemy tutorial, but I had to put them together there. And then yeah, for the event graph, this is what determines this is basically some of the logic for updating the animations. And then also like the logic here is basically when the animation notif goes off here, that'll tell the player to try to apply damage to the enemies. So that's where that logic lies as well. I'll show you a little bit of the player controller. So this basically is how the HUD is processed. So just the widget for that. So that's like for the wave completed and for the health bars and all that. That's where this is coming in. And then here we have for processing the mouse movement. So pretty basic stuff. That's pretty much with any game. And then this is for the jump, and this is where I also added the sounds, which at my school, CRAS, the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences, where I'm studying right now, we have a group. I started a group for sound design, and we're going to be, when we get back from the Christmas break we're currently on, we're going to be making some sounds for this. So I was basically putting the blueprints together for that. So this will be for like the melee attack, the magic. And I decided to put the sound effects here to be triggered here because, as I said, there's an inheritance system, and I wanted to make sure that there was a different sound for the player and the enemy. So I decided to put it actually where the player was pressing the button as compared to somewhere else in the blueprints of the actual characters themselves. So yep, I'll show you the game mode real quick. So this basically is what controls the logic for the enemy spawner and the wave system. So the queue, the branches here will basically check to see how many enemies there currently are. So it just checks like the class, and the class is the enemies. And if it gets to a certain amount, then it'll decide to spawn a new wave. So it's going to check if the wave is complete based on the number of enemies there. And then once it basically is checked for that, it'll start a new wave. So that's basically how the wave system works. And then yeah, here, if you go to my the array here, the array variable, then you can see that I have different enemy types. So like these are the standard enemies, and then here in the second wave you have some mages and then also some regular. And then it really we have 8 in the final wave, which is a full mix of the 2 enemy types and just ramps it up. So yeah, that's where the logic for the wave system is, as well as the end game. So when the player actually gets rid of all of the enemies, there's going to be it's going to restart the level here. Yeah, then there's the spawner system. So this basically will spawn those actors at various places in the arena. The player starts. There's a few of them. Yeah, there's one there, one here. So that'll spawn the enemies, and then this is just that. This is the blueprint for the spawner, and it's referencing the game mode blueprint as well. And then yeah, the last thing I'll show you is really fun to make this little particle system here. Here's the audio attached to it, which will basically be destroyed. It'll be destroyed along with the with the particle effect itself. So that's why it's attached here. Yeah, so then there's also a system where it applies damage. So this will reference the character base as well. And there's a direct hit. So that one applies 50% damage as compared to the only 20 damage for a radial hit. So basically a non-direct hit. And they also have different sounds that'll play for those two. Yeah, it was super fun making the actual particle system here though. So we got like this is a little charge up before it shoots out, and then we got that's like just the final thing before it shoots, and then this is it flying around. And then we have the health as well, and the little impulse for like when it hits an enemy. That's the effect that'll go off. So yeah, that's pretty much how this game works. And yeah, thanks guys for watching the video. And yeah, I would love to keep working on prototypes like this in the future. And yeah, I'll be adding a music system and sound effects here after the break. So I'll make sure to show a full gameplay demo once those things are in place. And I have died again. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and I hope you have a good day.